Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tim McLean, the Director of Marketing at thinQ. I want to thank everybody for joining us today for our webinar. You're here to learn more about how Telinta and thinQ can combine together to deliver the ultimate communications platform as a service. And we know that your VoIP business requires integrated switching and billing, plus high-quality VoIP termination and origination. And together, Telinta and thinQ can help you. So Telinta offers cloud-based switching and billing solutions to VoIP service providers around the world. And the company's ecosystem of industry-leading partners help VoIP service providers like you grow their businesses with high-quality VoIP termination and origination, plus other services. With thinQ, you can reach customers every time and take control of your voice and messaging. Our VoIP termination services are unique since customers can select their own underlying carriers, 45 in all, and have real-time access and control over their own account and call routing for maximum savings, all with no commitments or minimums. And in addition to our high-quality DIDs and VoIP termination in the US, thinQ also provides global A to Z VoIP termination. And just a reminder about the special offer we're making today. As a new partner to either thinQ or Telinta, you can enjoy 1,000 free voice minutes from thinQ, plus get a $400 credit for Telinta services when you sign up new. But before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. First, I am recording this session, and all registrants will receive a link to the recording tomorrow. So if you're called away, don't worry about it. We've got you covered. Next, we also want your questions, and I invite you to use the chat button in the Zoom interface and send your questions to the person that's listed there. The name is Questions Here. I'll be monitoring that, and we'll answer them at the very end of our time together today. So now let's introduce our speakers. First up will be Anthony Stitzo, Vice President of Marketing and Sales at Telinta. Then we'll hear from Eric Leon, VP of Sales at thinQ. So with that, Anthony, take it away.
Thank you, Tim. And thank you all for spending your time with us here today. As Tim mentioned, my name is Anthony Stitzo, and I will present a little bit about hosted switching and billing solutions for voice service providers from Telinta. Some background on our company. Telinta was founded in 2002, and we're one of the companies that actually pioneered the concept of a hosted soft switch, putting a soft switch in the cloud so that hundreds of VoIP service providers and their resellers around the world can access a full portfolio of VoIP solutions without owning their own hardware or software. We call our platform Telecore, and Telecore brings together fully integrated switching and billing, which is very important, together with some of our own custom development. So over the years, we've worked with VoIP service providers, we've understood their needs, and we've actually developed solutions that you won't find anywhere else in the marketplace. And as Tim mentioned earlier, we've put together an industry-leading ecosystem of partners because we realize that it takes several companies to work together in order for your VoIP business to succeed. Our platform is the industry's largest hosted soft switch of its type anywhere in the world. Our main facilities are hosted in the New York area, and we have additional facilities across the United States and in key international markets around the world. Our business model is very simple. We sell to VoIP service providers and only to VoIP service providers. We never sell directly to end users or to enterprise customers, but instead we enable you to sell to those customers. Everything we do is white label, so your customers or your resellers will never see the Telinta brand or domain name or logo anywhere in our solutions. Everything we do is brandable by you and your resellers. We also are unique because we enable you to use any VoIP termination carriers or DID providers you'd like. For example, thinQ. And this whole webinar is an example of that partnership. So on our platform, you don't need to use our VoIP termination or DIDs. We don't provide termination or DIDs. Instead, we enable our customers to use the provider of their own choice. You can also use other service providers like companies who provide solutions for telecom taxation. If you're in the United States, you may need E911 services. You can use SMS providers for billing notifications and password resets and other things. But importantly is we provide you with comprehensive training so that when you sign up to become a Telinta customer, one of our senior engineers will reach out to you to schedule sessions of training. We do this through desktop sharing, so you actually can see the platform, and we guide you through the key configurations you need to make. And this is hands-on training. So by the end of the training, you're actually able to configure your own switching environment. And then after training, we provide 24/7 live technical support every day of the year. So there's always engineers on staff to help you with questions. So here's just a simple representation of a VoIP business. Our platform is the place where all of your different service providers are integrated together. So on our platform, you can easily add your termination providers. You can add your own DID providers. For example, thinQ provides both termination and DIDs. We have APIs to several leading DID providers, and we just recently announced an API that lets you access your origination account with thinQ directly from our platform. And this is very advantageous because it lets you easily integrate DIDs, local phone numbers, for the services that you offer, things like hosted PBX, calling card, business and residential phone service, mobile services. You can sell thinQ DIDs on a wholesale basis. You can even have your end users choose their own phone number through a self-service portal. So this API really provides a lot of advantages. We have, down at the bottom here, you'll see we provide you with resources for your end users so that they can log in via a self-service portal and do things like make a payment or control their call forwarding or use PayPal to make a payment. And they can see CDRs in real time and a variety of other self-service functions. And again, all these portals are extremely customizable and brandable by you and your resellers. Your resellers are VoIP service providers in their own right. They're running their own business. They're setting their own prices, marketing under their own brand, and they purchase services directly from you. We don't come into contact with your resellers. They don't see Telinta anywhere in the solutions. So they're your customers. And we provide support for a variety of other functions as well. For example, if you need to use IP phones, we have a unique provisioning profile solution that lets you automatically provision any number of IP phones. We'll talk more about that later. We have APIs to SMS providers, APIs to mobile top-up providers that lets you sell prepaid airtime to mobile phones virtually anywhere in the world. We have a solution that lets you provide MVNO services for global roaming to travelers, and also a brandable mobile soft phone that you can offer on a standalone basis or integrated with one of the other solutions. So it's a very robust environment. With a single relationship with Telinta, you have access to a full portfolio of VoIP solutions, popular services like calling card, pinless, mobile services, hosted PBX, SIP trunking, and a variety of other things, all on one platform. As I mentioned, everything we do is white label, so you can brand this however you need. And our platform is carrier grade, so it's extremely reliable. even in disasters like Hurricane Sandy or the New York City blackout, or just recently Hurricane Irma, we experienced zero downtime. Let's take a look at the hosted PBX solution. There's not enough time to go through all the solutions, but our solution for hosted PBX gives you a full range of capabilities that you can use to win and retain attractive business customers. Things like dial by name directory, hunt groups and call queues, voicemail to email, fax to email, customizable music on hold, customizable IVR, auto attendance, which is a virtual receptionist. Our business customers love this, where callers are greeted by a menu: press 1 for sales, press 2 for support. It lets small companies look big and big companies function better. And these are things that you can do with our platform. Most interesting is the IP phone provisioning that I discussed earlier. So let's take a closer look. We've developed auto provisioning profiles for many, many popular IP phones and other devices, so that we already have put together some of the configuration parameters so that you don't have to do it manually. You log in to an easy online portal, create your inventories of phones by entering the MAC address and other account details. Some of the devices that you can easily provision, basic or feature-rich IP phones, video-capable IP phones, cordless IP phones. If your end-user customers don't want to use IP phones, we can help you provision analog telephone adapters, ATA devices, so that they can use analog phones, and even things like door units and paging speakers and PA systems that businesses look to their telecom provider for. When the device is plugged into an IP network, just plug in an Ethernet cable at the customer prem, it automatically reaches out to our platform and downloads a complete configuration profile. So the end result is fast, error-free, automated configurations of IP devices without the need for manual configuration. This means you don't even need to send an installer to the customer's prem. We talk about using these profiles for provisioning, but you can also use them to update firmware or to activate or deactivate features. So it's an extremely useful cloud-based tool, and there's no additional charge for this. This is a standard part of our platform. And we have profiles developed from many leading manufacturers. If there's one here that you would like an introduction to, or if there's someone who you'd like to use who's not on our list, this is only a partial list. We actually have many more. But if you would like to use a model that we don't have a profile for, we'd love to take a look at it. And in most cases, we can develop a profile for you. Some of the things you get with Telinta, as I mentioned, the customizable portals. There's a unique set of portals for your resellers, for distributors, for individual agents who process transactions. Your end users can do a wide variety of things. For example, our online sign-up capability is extremely popular. This lets your customer sign up online. He can do things like configure hosted PBX extensions, set up payment, adjust his call routing, choose his own phone number. There's a wide variety of things that your end users can do online. If you're interested more, we'd love to show you our virtual office solution, which really is an impressive solution for self-service portals. As I mentioned, everything is brandable, and you can do business in any language you need. You can do business in any currency you need. You can easily accept online payments with credit cards, debit cards, PayPal, and even cash. Our billing system is extremely flexible. As I mentioned, it's real-time billing. This enables you to provide both prepaid or postpaid services if you'd like. You're in control of your own pricing, your billing. You create your own discount plans, promotions, subscriptions, and you can do all of this with our platform completely integrated with the switching on the services that you provide. Another example of integration is you have access to a full portfolio of services that all come from the same platform. So you can do things like create your own service bundles. You can add a mobile soft phone as a mobile extension to a hosted PBX service if you'd like. You can create different bundles and promotions and packages and lots of other things. We'd love to show you a live demonstration of our platform. Please reach out to us to schedule that, and we'd be happy to help. Most of what I talked about today is technology, but we understand that running a successful VoIP business is more than technology. It's people. People who can train you and pass on the experience and the knowledge they've gathered over the years to help you get started. People who can support you 24/7 around the clock every day of the year. And people who can develop custom solutions that help meet the unique needs of your business. And this is something that we really excel in. And you can meet some of those people at major telecom events. For example, our next event is ITW in Atlanta, June 24th through the 26th. We hope to see you there. And thank you very much for your time, and I will pass it back to Tim.
Thank you, Anthony. It's really fascinating to see Telinta's Telecore soft switch in action here and learn all about it. I'm excited to pass things over to Eric Leon. He's the VP of Sales here at thinQ to talk more about the services and the technology that we bring to the table. Eric, take it away.
Thanks, guys. Hey, it's Eric Leon here. Anthony, I really appreciate that. You know, one of the things I've always been so impressed with when I look at Telinta is just how comprehensive the solution is. You know, it really covers all the bases. There's other players in the marketplace, but I just really don't know of anybody who's really covering every aspect of it. And the other thing that I always appreciate that you guys do that is always, to me, a real key indicator of how professional and how successful you guys have been is you guys are always developing new things. You know, you're always releasing a new feature or an update. It's not one of those sort of static solutions that's been the same way for a very long time. So thanks for sharing that. And I'm going to get a little bit into what thinQ does. My intention here is to keep this part of the presentation very short. You guys have already been with us for a little while. I want to give you a high-level overview of exactly what thinQ does and who we are as a company. And one of the reasons why you might want to watch this is because we are doing things very different in the space, in the voice space. We've won a lot of awards, especially over the past few years, for things that we've done that have been breakthrough technologies. So let me sort of give you an idea of where we're going here on this part of the presentation, and then we'll take it through step by step. So one of the things that I like to talk about outside of just who thinQ is and what the product is I want to talk about industry hurdles. Things that you might encounter on day one, year 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. I want to talk about, for voice, I want to talk about solutions towards those problems and things like redundancy and disaster recovery. I want to talk about, as you're building these product lines, as Anthony was saying, sort of as you're becoming this network for your customers, your resellers, your other VoIP providers, or end users. I want to talk about how you can improve your cost structure and quality. Of course, that's going to bring me to showing you the thinQ platform and how we begin to address some of those industry hurdles and some of the things that I've talked about here. And then what I really want to get to is, and I can see you guys have already put in a few questions in on the forum already, is I want to get to answer any questions you might have. And just keep in mind that's for both Telinta and for thinQ. So get those questions in and we'll get them answered. And of course, we won't leave you without information on how you can get set up with us. So let's dig right in. There are people on here who are familiar with thinQ. You might be evaluating thinQ now. You might work with one of thinQ's products. You might have heard of thinQ. Or you might be fresh and brand new to the platform. So I want to give you a little bit of idea about who thinQ is and why our tagline is, there is a better way. So we started in 2009. We separated from a very large telecommunications company. We did that to do things in a very different way in the cloud. We focus all of our efforts on voice and messaging services. And this can be for VoIP providers, LEX, CLEX, enterprise, contact centers, carriers. We build integrated third-party APIs so you can get all things covered, such as SMS, MMS, and traditional database services. And that brings me to one segment that we want to talk about here today, specifically as it ties into Telinta, and that is the question, what about voice? So I sort of look at this as a customer journey. As you're out there and you're shopping in the marketplace and you land on Telinta and we found a rock solid solution for your hosted, whatever it might be that you're procuring through them, you're now left with going out there and figuring out the voice aspect of it. Okay, how am I actually going to get these calls completed, both inbound and outbound? You've got all the mechanics. You're all set up. You've got the best foundation you can possibly do. But you quickly find out one unfortunate part about the industry, and that is there is no one carrier that you can connect to that is good all the time or is good everywhere. So what do I mean by that? Well, you might go on with a provider and they might be excellent for the US traffic, but they might be horrible for US and Malaysia, right? You might find somebody who's excellent for a particular traffic pattern that you're sending across them. It might be hitting a few states or a few countries, but they're not so good in other areas. It is asking a lot from a provider to be the complete and total solution. So let's look at that from a customer journey perspective. You usually start out at stage one, and I'm talking post Telinta, right? You now got your platform, and the first thing that you do is you make that first compromise. You go out there and you find the best provider you can get with the amount of usage that you're doing at that point in time. And I always think about it, where am I catching somebody on their journey? Are they at the very beginning or they've progressed along the way? So at stage one, we would see that they've got their first voice provider and hopes are high. But over time, they find that that provider might not be a total and complete solution. So they start thinking about redundancy. They start thinking, I can't just have one, I'm going to need more than one. So now they're back out into the market and they're shopping for their next provider and they're focused on building a more high quality network. Look, I'll just use this next provider everywhere that other provider can't service me properly. Then they start thinking about DID availability. So they start saying, I've got a provider and they give me a lot of great numbers, but I've run into issues where they don't have numbers and locations that I want, or potentially they don't have the right price point I need to compete in the marketplace that I'm in right now. So they begin looking again at providers based on that information. Then as they continually progress along, they say, I've got a lot of providers, but do I have all the mechanisms I need to begin to use them in competition with one another? So they begin at looking at various least cost routing type technologies. Maybe they have some of it existing, but maybe they want to advance that to the next level. And inevitably, they sort of end up at this last stage where they're wondering, was all of this worth the effort? Adding personnel, carrier manages, contract negotiations, dealing with turning carriers up and turning them back down because they don't perform over time, so forth. And at the end of the day, we see that a lot of customers share with us that, hey, I'm customer facing. I like to focus on my resellers, on my VoIP providers. I like to focus on the product lines that I'm building for them. I like to be out there selling and marketing. I don't necessarily want to spend all of my time and finances on driving the carriers upstream. And so that brings us to the Think plus Telinta type solution. So as you're coming in here, you wonder, what are your carrier options? So let's just do a quick rehash of what we just described. Here's a visual example of where you start on that journey. You got the Telinta platform, right? You got everything that's encompassing that Anthony went over in detail. You connect that by SIP to your carrier, and then it goes from the carrier to the destinations that you're completing both inbound and outbound from. And it feels like a good solution at first. That's where we come into play, a new kind of voice. We want to leapfrog you to the end of that process. We want to take all the heavy lifting off of you and enhance the network. And we do that from day one. We start out, when you come onto our platform for Think, we have no commitments. And you can come onto our platform and there's no required usage, spend, or anything associated with that. I'm going to get into it in a minute here, but we're going to show you how you can manage direct connections to over 45 providers, both domestically and internationally. All built right into the platform, no need to go out and negotiate contracts or do interops with each individual provider. Of course, you can order numbers directly inside of the Telinta platform, so we've got API integration that'll make your processes more efficient. But all of this comes under one roof, right? Now all of a sudden you've got the thinQ platform, you've got all 45 carriers, but we've simplified the process. One bill, one support team. So here's sort of a visual representation of what that's going to look like. We remember from the previous slide that it was sort of a one-to-one, right? It was Telinta connects to the carrier and then it connects on to our destinations. In this platform now, we connect to the thinQ cloud. No hardware, nothing like that has to be installed. We just instantaneously have access to every quality North American and international provider in the marketplace. So now all of a sudden you get direct access to these providers as if you had gone out there and negotiated the contract all on your own. So what's the advantage of having multiple providers? Well, a lot of people are price conscious, so let's get to that one first. So on the right-hand side here, we see a visual example of some of the providers that are inside of our platform. So we can see that this customer has basically activated maybe 30 or so of the providers inside of the roster list. So how is that actually going to perform for them? Well, we can dig into this deeper at a later point, but to give you sort of a high-level overview of what it looks like, it is when you directly connect to all these providers, our system has the capability to cross-compare each provider on a call-by-call basis. And that could be as granular as in you're calling Lower Manhattan, New York, New York, and AT&T offers you a 40% cost advantage over every other carrier. So that cost savings is passed directly on to you as our partner, right? We complete the call with AT&T and you achieve that 40% cost savings. It's always picking the most optimal route per destination. This also gives us the capability of doing what's called failover. So a lot of you are probably already familiar with this concept, but let me just give you a general idea of what it means. This means that in this case, I've got 30 providers enabled. So that means that for every destination I call, I've got 30 layers of redundancy. So if AT&T for some reason can't complete that call, our system seamlessly switches to the next provider and the caller is never the wiser. This can ensure that you get that 99.99% call completion ratio, right? The idea on our platform is with our 45 providers, if we can't get that call completed, I don't know who can get that call completed. It utilizes dynamic failover. So every time it tests a location and sees that the carrier is down, it's automatically and seamlessly reprovisioning it over to the new provider. So that's sort of a high-level understanding of exactly what the platform does here. So I just want to sort of review. It's simple in nature, but in execution, it's excellent. So essentially what our platform allows you to do is you get a multi-carrier network with no contracts or obligations towards any individual provider, no need to call them for support or anything like that, all tier 1 carriers across our platform. You get an automated savings platform, a free LCR engine. It essentially is always routing to the most optimal carrier based on who you've selected. So now all of a sudden you get this 40 to 70% cost savings over any carrier you talk to in the marketplace. And it sort of makes sense, right? How can one provider compare against the best of 45? Disaster recovery. We can easily reroute from a failing route directly over to a route that is successful. And this translates to almost every product we have. For example, we pioneered some technology for the toll-free space. We are the only provider who can give you failover on toll-free inbound, right? And that is completely controllable in a least cost routing engine in the cloud. All of these services are free of charge. It's a pure consumption-based model. So if you use a minute, you pay for a minute. If you don't pay for it. And of course, we back all of this up with our live 24/7 support. So I appreciate that. We're going to get to the Q&A section here. Hope we didn't take on too long. I think we're just at the 30-minute marker.
That's right.
And I want to open this up to everybody. What you can see on the page is, just before we get into the questions, and I know Anthony might even have some things you want to say before that, is I just want you to have an understanding on this page. Go to Telinta.com. You can easily sign up for more in-detail demo and dig into the platform. You can, of course, go to thinQ.com, and we can do a more extensive and in-depth demo as well. And Anthony, I'm probably left something off on that page. So is there anything you'd like to add on that?
No, very good. We appreciate it.
Great.
Yeah, and just a reminder, both of you, thank you, Anthony, thank you, Eric. There is a special offer we're making today that all the new partners who come on board to check out and eventually sign up with Telinta or thinQ, you can enjoy 1,000 free voice minutes from thinQ, or get a $400 credit with Telinta services when you sign up. So, guys, I did get a couple really great questions. And one of them just popped in. Melham was asking, what is the DID origination coverage map look like in terms of DIDs? What can they buy? And I'm thinking, Eric, can you take that from our side when you're buying DIDs from thinQ?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're buying DIDs from thinQ, like take the North American coverage map, for example, which covers the US, Canada, Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and the islands. We're looking at 87% coverage, right? So there's really only, and I won't name names, but there's really only one other vendor in the marketplace that can offer that level of availability. So what you find is that there's really two key factors when it comes to DID availability. Number one, you want to know whether we actually have the numbers that you need to get, which we do. And then number two, you want to know that we have it at the most effective price point. Carriers like to make things very confusing. So one of the nice things about having as large an on-net network as we have is you're going to get those numbers at the most competitive price point. But I'll take that offline. We can, of course, do a consult with you to show you exactly what that would look like price-wise on our platform and availability-wise.
Great. I want to say a special thanks to Miguel. Miguel actually says here that Telinta and thinQ have been crucial to our unified communication business. thinQ is the provider we use to allow our customers to send faxes over IP. So there's a good one, right, Eric?
That's right.
All right. So a couple questions here we've got as well. Anthony, one for you. Does Telinta charge per PBX seat or extension?
Good question. No, we do not. We charge you by minutes of use based on your outbound calls that reach the PSTN network through your termination provider. Inbound calls and on-net calls, on-net meaning from one of your users to another one of your users, are free. We don't charge for that. So some companies do charge by seat or by extension. We don't. We apply volume discounts based on the total number of minutes you use each month. And we do that automatically. So if your usage peaks one month and dips another month, we automatically apply the volume discount that is most advantageous for you at each usage level each month.
That's great, and I think Eric definitely want to transition that to you as well. So, how does thinQ charge, and do you have to pay each carrier? Is one of these great questions, because I know we've got 45 carriers involved, right?
Yes, I know, and that's probably always me. I always get people on that one. So again, one of the key concepts here is that you only ever have to deal with thinQ. You get the experience of directly connecting to the provider, and what I mean by that is every call, inbound and outbound, goes directly from, in this case, your Telinta hosted PBX platform directly to AT&T and so on and so forth. But you never have to deal with them from a support perspective or from a billing perspective. You're only ever going to get a bill from thinQ. We combine it all for you and make it very simple and easy to understand.
Great. You guys are being very concise. I think we all appreciate it. Anthony, great question here for you is, can I offer prepaid services like calling cards or prepaid calling from a mobile soft phone application?
Yes, you definitely can. Our mobile soft phone is easy to offer both on a prepaid or a postpaid basis. And we have two different versions. One is a generically branded version. You can go to our mobile soft phone solution page on our website, and there's an icon for Try Me. You can download the application for free. We also have an option where it's brandable. So you can have your own icon, your own name, your own logo, and customers purchase your app from the app stores.
Here's a good follow-up question here. These are coming in very quickly, which is great. Benjamin's asking, does Telinta charge outbound minutes on top of what we pay thinQ for the hosted PBX seats?
It's two separate relationships. So we charge you for the minutes of switching and billing, and thinQ charges you for the minutes of termination that you use.
Oh, makes perfect sense. Eric, back to you. Could you walk through? I think there's some questions coming in about the 45 providers that we've unlocked so far. How does thinQ pick providers, and what is that based on?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that the platform behaves is you are in the driver's seat. So thinQ is going to behave more like a consultant than a carrier. As you come on the platform, we're going to have access to all 45, and they're all quality providers. But based on a few additional bits of information, we're going to customize that to make sure it meets your spec exactly. So as you turn those providers on, and let's do a very simple case example. If you were to turn on AT&T, that means all calls you send out are going to flow over AT&T. Every call you make is going to flow out over AT&T. But the minute you enable the next provider, our system is going to optimize them together. So it's going to look at every time at every call you make, it will already know. There's no delay, there's nothing like that. It will instantaneously know which provider is going to offer you a more price competitive route to that particular destination. But remember, it's always keeping the other provider in its back pocket. If for some reason it can't get that call completed, it'll instantaneously fail over to that other provider, ensuring you're always getting your calls completed, but you're always getting them completed at the most cost-effective price point.
Yeah, and a quick follow-up to that too, Eric. Are there any minimums with thinQ?
No, there are no commitments of any kind on the platform. If you send 1 minute worth of calls across the platform, you're going to pay for 1 minute. If you don't send another call ever, you're never going to get a bill from us.
Great. Anthony, here's a technical one. I'm going to venture it and see how we do with it. So with regards to Telinta's MVNO API, is this platform open to private SIM cards or limited only to Telism?
Our MVNO includes, it's a partnership between us and a company called Global One SIM. Global One SIM provides brandable SIM cards and mobile airtime, and we provide switching, billing, portals, and other things that makes the solution all come together. So only the Telesim SIM cards can be used with our solution.
Got it.
So we do have a very interesting Telesim starter program. It lets people get started with some discounts and, up to 20 sample SIM cards that they can use to get started.
Okay, great. And last question for you again, Anthony, is are there limits or extra charges based on the number of concurrent calls?
No. We don't limit your concurrent calls. We don't limit your calls per second. We don't charge you by concurrent calls. Virtually everything we do is unlimited. As I mentioned, it's a carrier-grade platform, and we serve service providers all over the world, so there's no need to limit concurrent calls.
Great. Well, I want to thank everybody here. We went about 10 minutes over, not bad. Anthony, want to say thank you for your time. Eric, thank you for your time. And everybody out there, just a reminder, we have recorded the session. Watch for an email tomorrow with a link to the recording, along with the details, again, of the special offer. You're invited to get a demo of Telinta or thinQ's platforms, and you'll receive that invitation in the email as well. And just a reminder, if you do decide to sign up for one or both, we do have some special offers. So 1,000 free voice minutes from thinQ if you sign up if you're new, or a $400 credit for Telinta when you sign up when you're new. So with that, Anthony, Eric, thanks again. Any last thoughts before we sign off today?
Yeah, just feel free to get extra questions. I mean, I know we always try to keep these things very tight and concise, 40 minutes and so forth. But if you guys are firing off additional questions, feel free to fire them in there. We'll get them answered offline, or hit Telinta.com up or thinQ.com up, and we'll make sure we get you set up with a live demo.
Hey, actually, one just popped in here. It's good timing. Melhelm was asking, does thinQ offer MMS for Canadian DIDs?
Yes, we do.
I knew there was an easy one. A nice softball one to end the session.
Yeah, that's an easy one. Yes to MMS.
Awesome.
So give us a ring, and we'll absolutely get a team member who can give you a more deeper dive. So I appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you so much. Anthony, thank you so much for doing this with us. And we'll keep you guys posted about new updates and anything, or if there's any further Telinta and thinQ updates as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Anthony. And just again, a reminder, if you guys want to get some more information immediately, Telinta's Telecore soft switch, head over to telinta.com right now. Or if you want to find out about thinQ and our termination origination services and our least cost routing platform that you can plug into Telinta, head over to thinQ.com.